Welcome to AI School Buddy, your smart learning partner.
All right, let's talk about something we literally use every single waking moment, light. We're going to do a super simple breakdown of how it works, basically how it bounces and how it bends to create everything you see around you. Let's get right into it. So, let's kick things off with a question that sounds almost too obvious. Why can't you see in a totally dark room? The answer, as simple as it is actually the key to this entire topic. We can only see things when there's light to bounce off of them. So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what light even is. Then we'll look at how it bounces. That's reflection. After that, how it bends. That's refraction. And finally, we'll tie it all together with some cool everyday illusions that you've definitely seen before. Okay, first up, what exactly is light? I mean, it's the fundamental building block of sight, so it's kind of important. You know, in the simplest terms, light is just a form of energy. And get this, you're not actually seeing the chair or the table in front of you. What you're really seeing is the light that's hit that object and then bounced off it into your eyes. No light, no sight. It's really that straightforward. And light has some pretty wild properties. It always travels in a perfectly straight line, which is why things cast shadows. It's also an electromagnetic wave, meaning it can zip right through the empty vacuum of space. But the most mind-blowing part? Its speed. It travels at 300 million meters per second. That's literally the fastest anything can go in the universe. So, when this incredibly fast energy slams into a surface, only one of three things can happen. It can bounce off, it can pass through and bend, or it can just get absorbed. We're going to focus on those first two, because that's where all the cool visual stuff happens. Which brings us to our second section, all about that bounce. We're talking about reflection. Just think about throwing a ball against a wall. It hits and it bounces right back, right? Well, light does pretty much the exact same thing. Reflection is just light bouncing off a surface, like a mirror or a lake, and staying in the same medium, like the air. Now, this bouncing act isn't random at all. It follows two beautifully simple laws. The first one is the big one. The angle the light comes in at is the exact same angle it goes out at. The second law just says this all happens on a nice, flat, two-dimensional plane. Simple. And this picture shows that first law perfectly. That incoming beam is the incident ray. The one bouncing off is the reflected ray. And that dotted line in the middle, that's just an imaginary line we call the normal. Just look at how those two angles are perfectly equal. That's the golden rule of reflection. And here's the really cool part. This rule applies to everything. It doesn't matter if it's a perfectly flat mirror, the surface of your phone, or even the weird curvy back of a spoon. The angle in always equals the angle out. The law is the law. Okay, so we know light bounces. But what happens when it doesn't bounce and instead goes through something like glass or water? Well, this is where things get a little weird. This is where light bends. This bending has a name. It's called refraction, and it only happens when light crosses the boundary from one clear material into another one, say from the air into a glass of water. So why on earth does it bend? Well, it all comes down to one simple thing, a change in speed. It's kind of like if you were running on pavement and then suddenly had to run through thick mud. You'd slow down, right? Light does the same thing when it enters a denser material. Let's trace it out here. The light ray is traveling through the air. As soon as it hits the denser glass, it slows down, and that causes it to bend a little bit toward that imaginary dotted line. Then, when it leaves the glass and re-enters the air, it speeds up again and bends away. Now, this isn't just some random effect. A guy named Willibald Snell figured out the exact math for it way back in 1621. His rule, Snell's law, lets us predict exactly how much that light is going to bend. It's a constant, predictable relationship. So, we've got our two basic rules, light bounces and light bends. Now for the fun part. Let's see how these simple ideas create some of the optical illusions you see all the time. Okay, just a quick recap to lock this in. Reflection is light bouncing. Refraction is light bending. Reflection happens in one medium. Refraction happens when light changes mediums. Simple, right? Now, I guarantee you've seen these things. Ever stick a pencil in a glass of water and it looks like it's broken? Or notice how a swimming pool always looks way shallower than it really is? These aren't magic tricks.
They're all just perfect everyday examples of refraction in action. So, quick pop quiz. You see that classic bent pencil in a glass of water? Which rule's at play here? Is it reflection or is it refraction?
Yep, it's totally refraction. Your brain is wired to think light always travels in a straight line. But the light coming from the bottom half of the pencil has to travel through water, then through air to get to your eye. When it crosses that boundary, it bends, tricking your brain into thinking the pencil itself is bent. Okay, one last one for you. You've definitely seen this. Why is the word ambulance almost always written backwards on the front of the vehicle itself? This is actually a super clever use of our other rule. That's reflection at work. See, a mirror flips an image from left to right. It creates what's called a laterally inverted image. By printing the word backwards on the truck, when a driver in front of it looks in their rearview mirror, the reflection flips it back the right way so they can instantly read ambulance. So simple, but so smart. So there you have it. So much of what we see is just governed by two incredibly simple principles. Light bounces in a predictable way, and light bends in a predictable way. Now that you know the rules of the game, take a look around you. What other little illusions can you spot in your daily life that you can now totally explain?
If you like our effort, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. You can also join our weekly live classes, free of cost, for more guidance and assistance. Let us learn smarter, together with AI School Buddy.